years, and we've helped each other and mentored each other as much as we could. And to be honest with you, he's kind of like a brother from another mother. So I won't steal his thunder, but ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Abdul.
My name is not Jonathan Kibler, just to let you know. So, I was brought in lastminute.com, so I'm not prepared for this talk whatsoever. Gonna try and cuff this as much as I possibly can. My name is Abdul Shakur, and today I actually want to change someone's life. I'm not looking to change everybody's life, I'm looking to change one person's life in the room today. And the idea behind my talk is actually appreciating your community. That's the title of the talk. So I'm going to talk you briefly through my journey and my story and why I'm standing here today. What makes me even credible to stand here today. So I'm listed as one of the top 100 young entrepreneurs, most powerful young entrepreneurs in the world. I'm going for the Forbes 30 under 30 next year, so that's always been on my vision board. It's always been something that I've aspired to have from a young age. But I grew up not too far from here. I grew up in an area called Sparkbrook. And most people know that Sparkbrook isn't the most safest place in the world. Insurance prices are through the roof for those who are driving. But I grew up in a household, in a very religious household, and I grew up with my father being an orphan child. I'm the youngest of 6. I've got 3 older brothers, 2 older sisters. But most so importantly, I was 7 years old when my first niece was born. And being in a big family when you're 7 years old and your first niece is born, I've now got 9 nephews and 5 nieces, big family. And that attention and love went away from me from a very young age. And growing up in that household where you're not feeling like you're a part of the family, but even though your parents are still there, but you don't feel like you have a family environment around you. That's what I had to grow up feeling. I had to fight for attention, I had to fight for anything really, because all I grew up was around a bunch of adults. I was prematurely born, so I had an operation from a young age. All I did was fight for attention. That's all I wanted. Just a bit of love and attention. And that is what kind of gave me the entrepreneurial drive. Me and Tinashe, we met about 7 years ago now. I've been in business now 7 years. I run an office in central London. But before that, at the age of 11, I sold SIM cards when nobody knew they were free. So all the bottom. The funny thing is, the better the number, the higher the price of the SIM card. In year 9, I became one of the biggest phone dealers in school. So, and the phones, half of them didn't work, so what I did was, I used to buy water-damaged phones. And those water-damaged phones, I used to bring them all home. And there used to be a radiator in my room. I used to line up them all on the radiator, take all the batteries out, and then buy brand new covers and brand new things. And I used to buy a box off eBay, put it in a brand new box, make sure they started working at least. And then I used to...
It's so naughty.
And then I used to sell them in school. So that's where it kind of began. But before that, my father put me on stage in front of 2,000 people on international television to do an Urdu speech in 5 minutes. I was sweating when I got off that stage. That was about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. So that's where I started, but then I got to a stage where I did a lot of politics, community work. I was very passionate about making a difference, but 7 years ago, entrepreneurship wasn't popular. Being in business was not a popular thing. We grew up in that household of, my dad used to look at me and think, nobody else is a business owner, why are you doing it? None of my friends' sons do it. All my friends' sons are either doctors, accountants, engineers, whatever typical stereotype job that parents would say at that time. And that's where it all went wrong. So I one day came home from school, and you try to kind of make it, you try to make an effort, and you say, Dad, can I talk to you for a second? And I told him I'm leaving college. This is just after I left school, about 3 months in. So those 3 months, and then my dad actually threw my clothes out. He threw me out on the street. So I lived in the streets of Digbeth. I was homeless for about 4 months. So I grew up eating out of trash cans, trying to find my way to survive on the street. You know how cold. I actually don't feel cold anymore. It's a weird thing. It is a weird thing, but I don't feel cold anymore. And I grew up in the streets, and I used to hustle and bustle for a food, just for food and just for a roof on my head. And I used to sneak into the back of the shisha lounge, and the shisha lounge owner, one day saw me and he goes, I'll take you in. And he didn't really pay me to do the work. I worked 22 hours a day for a roof over my head and food on the table. Not for the wage that most people earn today. Not even for minimum wage. I didn't get paid a wage. All I had the pleasure of at that point was a roof over my head and food on the table. And I was grateful. And that's where I began. That's where I was born. I had no social skills before that, and I learned to interact with people. I couldn't go up to a girl to save my life. Now I can. So, and then following that, I started my social media business. And the social media business, where it came from, was I used to do a lot of voluntary work. And people say, and our parents might say, voluntary work, oh, you're doing it for free, they're just using you as slavery. And I'm just like, Dad, I'm actually there to gain some skills, I'm actually getting some experience. But most people won't agree with that. So I did a lot of voluntary work. I spent 7 years for voluntary work. One of the biggest humanitarian organizations in the UK. I helped them set up their social media when nobody knew what social media was. Now they have departments running their Facebook campaigns and Twitter and stuff like that. So I started their Facebook social media, and then the word got out that this social media whiz, he's out there and he's doing his thing. And he can help your business, and that's how I fell into business. I built a successful business. I got to 6 figures within 2 years. So I made 100 grand a year, more happy. Things are blessed, life's rolling. As they say, you're making the P. And then everything came crashing down. Because of my premature birth, I got to that stage where I had to have an operation. And the biggest mistake that I made was the business evolved around me as a person. And imagine going from living a luxurious lifestyle to then having nothing, absolute nothing. I had pins and needles on actual pins in my feet. I was on morphine for about 4 months, and I had nothing. And I came back and I thought, okay, I've obviously got no money left, and I have to start all over again. So I went and did a bit of corporate work. Tanasha would know, I'd walk into companies like PwC, Sony Mobile, at the age of 17, 18, and I would ask them for 35 grand like it was nothing. It was hilarious. And it wasn't because, and at the age of 17, 18, someone to walk into a corporate office, ask the marketing director of a global business, and sit there and say, can I have 35 grand please? And I'm going to do this, this and this for you. The guy looked at me and he said to me, you must be joking, right? And I said, no, I'm not, I'm being absolutely goddamn serious. He gave me the contract in the end.
Wow.
And so, straight after that, I thought, okay, I'm doing this, contracting, doing some freelance role. Worked with a brand like Sony Mobile after a period of time, did a bit of that, and I thought, I'm kind of a bit bored, I want to go into the business, start my own business again. Started a recruitment business. At the same time, I pissed a lot of people off. I wasn't the most likable person in Birmingham, I'm not going to admit that now. I pissed a lot of people off because I came across cocky, I came across arrogant. I had a blue suit, and most people don't know it's a blue suit. It was a bright blue suit, really bright, more than the floor. I had a big beard, going about that long, and I had long hair. I looked a cross between a gangster and an Arab prince, so I don't know where that actually stood in most people. And I was actually hated for it, so but it got me attention, and that was attention is what I utilized in my business today. I then did that, but I had a recruitment business for a period of time, and my business partner, it didn't go too well, so I lost that business. I then got to a stage where I hit the roof in Birmingham. They often call it a glass ceiling. It's like you can't grow anymore as an individual. You can't grow anymore individual, and that's when you make a decision, in that time of your life, to say, I now need to move on to bigger and brighter things. And that's when I made the overnight decision to move to London.
Overnight?
It was literally overnight. I sold my camera, which was about 400 quid, and I said, okay, I'm going to move to London, and I don't care how I don't know what I'm going to do when I get there, but I'm just going to go there. I'm going to go to every single event in central London, and I'm going to try and offer value to someone of some sort. I started a personal development business, so the idea of people who've heard of Tony Robbins, people who've heard of Les Brown, individuals like that, they do this thing called selling off stage and telling people about their lifestyle and telling people about how to make a difference in their life, how to control their mindset. So I started a personal development business with someone where I stood on stage in front of probably about same amount of room every single month, and I told people my story, and I sold to them a coaching program which allowed them to take their passions, their skills, their ideas into business. And that's what I did. We were one of the quickest growing personal development businesses in London within 6 months. We had about 250 clients pay us £500 within 6 months. And that's where I thought, okay, I'll come to another standpoint. I was like, okay, I've done this now. I know people in London, but I'm slightly a bit bored right now. As you can tell, I'm not the one. I get bored very quick. So I decided to actually then make a jump and say, okay, I'm now going to go do my social media training again. And I wanted to start my social media business. And that's when I decided to take all the wisdom, take all the things that I pissed people off for, and throw them in the bin. And I said, I'm going to start from scratch. Because what happened was, I got to that stage where I stopped dreaming, because people put me down. People said to me, you're too young. People said to me, you can't do this, it's never going to be possible. A lad from Sparkbrook with a Birmingham twang in London, they looked at me and they laughed. But they appreciated it because I didn't let them tell me that it wasn't possible. I turned around and I said to you, I don't care what you say to me, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be one of the, I believe, in one of the greatest young entrepreneurs on the planet at one point. And that isn't the point of this talk. The point of this talk is actually about, I call it the law of appreciation. And the law of appreciation is something that I now live by. Law of appreciation, my second name is Shakur. And Shakur actually means appreciative, and I didn't realize this till a lot later on. And appreciation is something that will make you happy as an individual. Because we think that money is the only route to success. We believe that money is going to change our life, and we focus on a business and we set up a business, it's going to change our life. The minute we have 100 grand in our pocket, that it's going to make us happy all of a sudden. It doesn't work like that. You see all these rich people that are doing suicide. You see all these rich people that are going through this idea that they're unhappy with their lives because all they have is money. They're actually more poor because they have more money. Because they're poor in all the other areas of their life. So I have 3 things that I talk about. Appreciating you. I think before you do anything else in the world, appreciate who you are as an individual. Love yourself for who you are. Don't do things just because someone else is watching you. Or you're afraid to do something because somebody else. You're afraid to think what other people are going to say about you. Appreciate who you are. Every day I have something called a gratitude journal. A gratitude journal where I wake up and I say, I appreciate the fact that I've got a roof over my head and food on the table. Everything else then becomes a blessing in our life at that point. Everything at that point then becomes a bonus. Because you've got a roof over your head and food on the table, what else more do you need? There's people out there in the world that don't have any of those things. Because we're always harsh on ourselves as human beings, we're always looking forward, we forget to look about what we've done in the past. People come to me and say to me, you've done a lot. I'm like, no, I haven't. but because I'm always striving for something else. But that striving can consume you, and then it will make you feel miserable because you feel like you haven't done anything. So the first thing you need to do is appreciate who you are, and appreciate you from all areas of your life. Appreciate your body. Only till a year ago did I think I was actually good looking. Before that, I generally thought I was the most not so good looking guy in Birmingham. It used to consume me as an individual. And then I started to appreciate myself, I started to appreciate my body, I started to appreciate the looks that I had, and then I felt more confident, I felt more happy as a person. So the first thing is appreciating you. The second thing is appreciating people. And this is probably a message to people who probably don't get on well with their parents. It's taken me about 6 years to actually have a heart-to-heart with my father and mother. It took me 6 years to sit down with my mother and father and say, Dad, this is who I am, this is who I'm going to be, and this is where I'm going. I respect you and love you guys, but sometimes when you see your parents against you, all you think is, they've done this to you. You become this selfish person, you become this victim inside you. And sometimes you've got to look at your parents and say, this isn't about me, but I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be empathetic. And I'm going to sit there and say to you, Dad, I know the pain that you've been through. My dad was an orphan child. He didn't know how to show love to his children. He wasn't taught. It took a lady in my life to tell me how to love someone, how to become a man as an individual. So the first thing that I want you to do is when sometimes you need to go home and have that honest conversation and say, Dad, I just want you to tell me about your life. Mom, I want you to tell me about your life and how you lived your life. Because then you realize those same hands that are shaking today because they're in their 60s and 70s, those are the same hands that used to look after you and pick you up. And those are the same hands that put nappies on you and used to be awake all night. Those are the same hands that helped you grow up, that gave you things. It's only till you move away, till you then realize what you actually don't have. When I moved to London, I realized how much I missed my parents. I realized that all the freedom and all the money in the world can't take away the love I have for my parents today because they've done everything for me. I come home and I look forward to coming home to my mom and dad. I come home and I say to them, and I kiss their hands, and I say, Dad, I love you, Mom, I love you, because nobody else has ever said that to them. And so that's what you need to start appreciating. That's the second thing. So appreciating people, not only appreciating people that are in your life as your parents, but appreciating the people around you, your friends, the people who have been there for you from day one, but you haven't realized, but you haven't got to say to them and say, just as men, sometimes we do this, we can't show emotion. We struggle to show emotion as men sometimes. But sometimes we need to drop down that guard of becoming this macho individual and just go over to someone and say, I appreciate you for being in my life, you've done so much, thank you. And my last thing that I want to talk about is appreciating your community. And this is the message today. You can live in your life chasing money, but the minute you start appreciating people in your life, appreciating your community, the people that you're actually serving, business isn't about making money. Business is about serving people in one way or another. It's about making a difference in their life, solving a problem for them, going that extra mile for them. Your business isn't about you. Your business is about the people. I can say to myself and say, I'm an amazing individual, I'm the best entrepreneur there is to say. But I can't take that, and because Gary Vaynerchuk, he says this, you're only as good as the market says you are. You can't say how good you are because the customers or the people you're serving will be your ambassadors. They will tell you how good you are. The people who don't brag about themselves are the people who they need to be told that they're good. But if someone naturally tells you you're good, then you appreciate more, you stay humble. And appreciating your community is what I live by, is because everybody is trying to make the quicker way of building a business. Everybody wants that 100 grand overnight. And I've made that 100 grand in 2 years, but the idea that you need to do everything the long-term way. I'm willing to do free sessions for every single person in this room just because, not because I want money from you guys, it's because I want to be able to serve you. So appreciating you, appreciating people, appreciating your community. That is the law of appreciation. And my name is Abdul Shakur. Thank you.